Do you think Sydney needs to go harder?
I think we're going pretty hard, Peter, and I think it's having quite an impact on the economy. I mean, this is a more severe lockdown than last year. We've got construction sites that are all stopped. We've got hairdressers closed. Salons closed. Any number of businesses that weren't closed in the last lockdown are closed now, and it's having a pretty big impact on people's mental health and on livelihoods. We've obviously got to try and get control of this outbreak, but I think we probably need to start looking at a somewhat more localised or gradated response, concentrated on the geographies and the industries and the areas where the disease is most rampant, and perhaps looking at easing up in some of the areas where there are no active cases and there's no reports of transmission.
Okay, that's interesting. I was going to ask you about that anyway. How do you do that? How do you do that without building resentment in the community?
Look, it's difficult, but we've done this before. I mean, look, different parts of Australia have been in different stages of the lockdown, and I know it's not great for national harmony and national spirit, but we do it because that's where the evidence takes us and where the risks take us. In last December's lockdown was confined largely to the northern beaches, with the rest of Sydney didn't go about doing this. So I think communities accept that if they've got a large number of cases, and their own fear will dictate this. They don't want to be out and about so much. They don't want to be catching the disease. They don't want to be transmitting it. There's a sensible case there, provided those communities are supported by the government, for them to have a different degree of lockdown than some other communities.
So yeah,
look, I mean, this is an easy exercise to whiteboard or to theorise. I know in practice this is a lot more difficult, and you've got adjoining LGAs and a huge number of Sydney's a very connected city. It's hard to just say you cut off one road and that contains the virus. It doesn't work like that.
Like you say, it's a connected city. It's the engine for the nation's economy, really. So what you're saying is, while cases are still very high in the city's southwest, and there's not many cases, for example, your electorate, I don't think there's many cases there at the moment, that should be eased up. Those economies should be allowed to open up again. That's what you're saying.
Yeah, look, I mean, I'm not going to talk my own book here, and I think there are still cases in the eastern suburbs, but there are LGAs, like the northern beaches.
There's not many, though.
The North Shore and the hills, where there's really been no cases of any incidents, and provided that we're limiting or eliminating movement between those LGAs and ones where there are active cases, it should be possible to do. I mean, we do this between Sydney and its surrounds. We do this between states. We've done this all through the crisis. We don't put Australia into a lockdown. We put the area affected into a lockdown. And I think the longer this goes on for, the more that case becomes compelling, because Sydney's 5 million people. New South Wales is a third of the national economy. This is causing a lot of economic hurt, just as Melbourne's lockdown did last year. But we just, if we can avoid that level of pain, I think we should seek to do so.